And that scene right there is where we all lost our minds. Hey everyone, I'm RVRocks, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. A wonderful YouTuber who I personally very highly recommend named NanoV Movies does this event around once a year now where he assembles as many YouTubers as possible to talk about one central theme. There was one marvelous scene where a bunch of YouTubers assembled to talk about the MCU, one excellent scene where they talked about the juggernaut that is the X-Men franchise, both movies and comics, and this year they are doing one villainous scene in honor of the soon-to-be-released The Suicide Squad. Your favorite YouTubers and mine once again descend to talk about a scene featuring their favorite villains and what makes it so great. And a fun twist to go alongside it is that anyone can join. Anyone can make a video and talk about their favorite scenes featuring their favorite villains. So after the past 2 years of getting about halfway through a script for these large collabs only to bin them out of a lack of inspiration, I thought that this year I will finally let this idea come to fruition and make a video talking about one of my favorite villain introductions of all time. And that is the introduction of the final villain in the original Steven Universe series, White Diamond.
Hello, Starlight. You certainly gave everyone a scare. They're all just thrilled to see you safe and sound.
Steven Universe helped pioneer the serialization format that a lot of cartoons run with nowadays. While both Adventure Time and Regular Show helped plant the seed for the modern-day serialized cartoon, they both were much more episodic than what Steven Universe ended up doing, taking the idea of a serialized cartoon and running with it. The show started out as your typical Monster of the Week show format, and over time started planting seeds that would eventually need explanation as time went on. The show started with Steven and the Crystal Gems fighting monsters, but it does a very good job of getting the audience to ask questions about its world. Oh, so they're fighting monsters? Where are these guys coming from? Oh, see, they're other gems, but something happened to them. What happened to them? Unclear as of right now, but we know that other gems caused it. Oh, so other gems are evil? Well, some of them are, but most of them just seem to be cogs in a corrupt system. Within the first season of the show, you suddenly begin to have all these different questions building out in your mind. And a lot of the intrigue of the show is paying off the answers to these questions. And no greater question will come to your mind while watching the show than what's the deal with White Diamond? Early on in the show, you hear characters start to toss around the names of their highest superiors, the Diamond Authority. Eventually, you get introduced to two of them. Yellow Diamond, a fierce general, and Blue Diamond, a woeful but cruel diplomat. And then you learn of a third diamond, Pink Diamond, a comparatively small, hot-headed little girl. Basically, think of her as the child of this family. You learn of these characters and their dynamics with each other pretty decently into the show, but going into the last 5 episodes, you don't know anything about the fourth diamond, White Diamond. Well, actually, keen viewers of the show might know a few things. You know that she's the supposed boss due to her placement always being at the top of the diamond insignia. You have an idea that she might fly around in a spaceship that looks like a head due to the fact that the other 3 diamonds have ships that look like arms and legs respectively. And you have a vague idea of what she might look like thanks to this mural that shows up early on in the series. So they need White Diamond's big reveal to be a moment, something that you'll always think back on. And they do not only succeed in doing this, but they also do 3 things that directly set up where the show is going from this point on. They establish the stakes, they make White hateable, and they directly set up what the end goal of this show is going to be. For those who either haven't seen the show or need a bit of a refresh on how the scene plays out, I'll recap it for you. The main cast, alongside Blue and Yellow Diamond, step out into the familiar yet foreign landscape of the Gem homeworld, where the diamonds reside. Yellow and Blue both seem to be nervous to talk to White, but just as quickly as they arrived, White Diamond's Pearl has come to greet them. A Pearl with a stagnant pose and forever smile, sporting a noticeably different voice than the Pearls that we have become accustomed to. She reveals that White has no interest in talking to the other diamonds, only to Steven. The Pearl takes him to White's ship, a giant head and torso. This journey into the ship takes Steven face to face with White Diamond herself, revealing her gigantic stature. Steven only being able to say the words hi, and I before White quickly dismisses him, sending him on his way. Less than a minute, and we have a perfect introduction to our antagonist for the rest of the series. And I hear what you might be thinking, what makes this so perfect? Well, lucky for you, I am here to answer your calls. Let's look at those 3 things I mentioned earlier that set up the endgame of the series and explain how they managed to achieve it. They showcase the stakes of the series by, well, just look at her. This scene paints White Diamond to be threatening in multiple ways. Let's start with the obvious. She's huge! She could probably crush Steven in a second and not think twice about it, but that's a little surface level for me. The more interesting part of her scale comes from how it's portrayed. You see, in Steven Universe, the backgrounds are colored and styled pretty differently from the foreground. The backgrounds often having more abstract coloring and more rough brushstrokes than the characters you see roaming the world. White Diamond breaks this universal constant in the series by being so large that she's painted the same way that the backgrounds are. Rough textured lines, abstract coloring patterns, this character literally breaks our preconceived notions of what characters can look like in this universe. So moving past this elephant in the room to the second smaller but still pretty large elephant in the room, her head is emitting this harsh white glow. This serves to do three pretty interesting things in its own right. For one, it hides her gem. Gems as a species always have their gemstone physically on their person somewhere. Their gem is basically their brain. If it breaks, they die. We know from the aforementioned mural that White Diamond's gem is in fact on her forehead, but the lighting in this scene makes it impossible to see, meaning that in her introduction, she literally has no weak spot. This light also serves to personify her role within the universe. White is a perfect mix of all other colors. White light fills everything in the room, emanating from White Diamond herself, making it almost hard to look at. This is just a way to visually showcase that White Diamond is all-encompassing on the gem homeworld. She has an iron grip on the society and how it's supposed to function. And lastly, this white light breaks the series' constant flat coloring, showing Steven being properly shaded in the light's glow. Once again, breaking our preconceived notions on what this show can look like. Her size, the white light, hell, even Steven is the only thing in the room not grayscale. Everything about the setup of this scene shows that Steven is all alone against the great power of White Diamond. So they show that she's powerful, but you have to remember that this is the first time we have met this character within the context of the show. If she's going to be the final boss of the show, they have to give you a reason to hate her. And with less than a minute's worth of dialogue, they succeed in that task with flying colors. The first thing we see from White Diamond is her pearl. And from the get-go, you know that something is wrong. For one, she has cracks on her face, an unbreaking stance, and an unbreaking smile. Even when she walks, she just menacingly floats with her hands out to her sides. And if you read into it deeper, there's a little bit more for you to discover. We know that the placement of the gems on blue and yellow's pearls coordinate with the placement of their diamonds. And we know that Pink Diamond's pearl has her gem in her forehead. But White Diamond's pearl has a gem on her stomach, meaning that at some point something must have gone wrong, and White now has what was once Pink's pearl. And even beyond that, White Diamond's language when you first meet her is just aggravating.
As for this latest little game of yours, thank the stars it's over. Did you have fun? Did you get everything out of your system?
Acting more like an ignorant mother figure than an evil dictator. It feels like this conversation is so beneath White, she never lets Steven speak, and in the process, it makes this conversation hit that much closer to home. After all, we've all had arguments with family, but not many of us have talked face to face with an evil regime. So they make sure that we as the audience knows that she's powerful and that we dislike her, but most importantly, this short interaction also gives us the perfect setup for how the series is going to go from this point on. And it all lies within White's spaceship, a bigger version of her own head. The fact that White Diamond resides in a gigantic version of herself is the perfect visual storytelling to tell you Steven's goal. You see, Steven Universe's superpower, well, aside from all the actual superpowers he has, is his words. He is empathetic to a fault, always understanding the pain and hate his enemies are suffering from. And during most conflicts throughout the series, he is more so wanting to connect to them rather than do any actual fighting. In stark contrast to Steven's open-minded approach, White Diamond is too stuck inside of her own head to let in any of his words. So now you know the end goal of the series. Both literally and metaphorically, he needs to get inside of her head, let his words be heard, and change her mind. All of this to be found in less than a minute of actual screen time. You know, Steven Universe often gets accused of having a rushed conclusion, supposedly because of all the different things it did to push the boundaries of what was acceptable in modern cartoon animation. And while even I can agree that parts of it do feel rushed, it's moments like these where the team can really show their writing chops. Even with limited screen time, they pull off a perfect introduction to a villain that was 5 years in the making at that point. I'm happy that they knew how to handle an introduction that can pull off all of what I just said in such a limited amount of time. In 1 minute, you knew everything you had to know about this character, and with rewatches and examinations, you could pull out that much deeper meaning through every word and action. And I don't know about you, but I think that makes this one villainous scene. And if you think that I am good at pulling out some deeper meaning from things, then why don't you pull out some deeper meaning from the subscription button by subscribing to RVRocks and ringing the bell, liking this video, and commenting some of your favorite villain introduction scenes. In fact, don't just do that, make your own videos on the topic. Nando V Movies organized this event for everyone, not just for big YouTubers like him and wannabe YouTubers like me. However, I recommend that you go watch his video for more explanation on the topic. The entire playlist of one villainous scene will be right there in the description for anyone who's thirsting to see some folks who are good at being bad. If you care particularly about my thoughts on things, then you can contact me either in the comments or on Twitter at RVRocks. But before you do any of that, I have been RVRocks, and thank you so much for watching. See ya!